everyone, this is Yu
Nice.
Tsai, and this is Brad. Welcome to Let's Talk.
Hi.
I'm so excited to be with you today, Brad. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm very, very good. Are you busy with Brad Bucks today?
Very. Oh my God, it's been insane.
Oh my goodness.
Crazy.
I've been following Brad Bucks every morning, and look at this logo I found today on the internet.
Yes, we got legit.
You got legit. So everyone, Brad's not only a fashion stylist, but I consider him my great friend. We've been working together for, I would say, about 10 years of time.
Long time.
And for a very long time. You might know him from back in the days of Rachel Zoe Project and all the way to the red carpet on E! and TV personality. And I love your podcast, by the way, and his podcast. So you guys make sure you follow him and
Thanks.
listen to his podcast. And just for fun, I kind of enjoy going back to watch Rachel Zoe Project once in a while.
Same.
So before we jump into some of the topics we're going to talk about today, I love for people who don't know you get to know you a little bit better. So let's talk about the journey, how you decided to become a stylist.
Well, I was always obsessed with fashion when I was a kid, and it was always something in my blood. I was like, the first magazine I ever got was a Vogue magazine, and you know, I was just like obsessed with the fashion world, but I was living in Canada at the time where I grew up, and so I didn't know how I was ever going to get into it. And then you know, I was always creating like weird outfits on myself and styling like everything. My dad would always say to me, "We're not going to a fashion show, hurry up." And I'd be like, I am. I don't know where you're going, but I'm going to a fashion show.
Well, that's very interesting. You said that the first magazine you pick up is Vogue, 'cause then that tells me you already had a sensitivity of understanding what good fashion is. Can you imagine if you picked up a magazine like a rag that is not fashion on point, and that became your styling guide?
Yeah, I know, right? Well, yeah, I also had in Canada, we had a TV show called Fashion TV with Jeannie Becker. And it was like, obviously before the internet, this was in the 90s. And Jeannie would like go backstage at all the shows and like, you know, was just like my into the fashion world. I learned all about all about fashion designers and the different fashion weeks and all kinds of stuff from her. And eventually later on, when I wrote a book that you shot the cover for called Born to be Brad. And the beginning of the book talks about Jeannie Becker and the impact she had on me. And I think it was maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, she invited me to Canada to give her her star on the Canadian Walk of Fame. And so it was like this whole, like, I like started crying during my speech. Because it's those people who like inform you, you know, they shape who you are, and it's really important to have these people who like blaze the trail for other people. And she was very much somebody I credit with, along with Vogue and all of those magazines, but she was really my into the fashion world.
And did you find it difficult from Canada to break into the American market? Because for me, coming from Asia, there's a big span of geographical distance, and breaking into the industry was quite difficult for me. Was it difficult coming from Canada and breaking into the American fashion industry?
Yeah, I mean, it was more, it's very hard to immigrate to another country. And so it was challenging for me coming from Canada as well to, you know, I think getting the start was more about how was I going to stay here and work with a work visa. But yeah, everything is hard work. It's still hard work, as you know. And, but I was lucky along the way. I think, you know, hard work is a huge part of it. I also think I met a lot of really great people along the way who, when I was an intern, also helped me, you know, guide my career, which was, I was very, very lucky. Was it the same for you though, to have that?
You know, my background wasn't in fashion. I had to learn what fashion was because my background was in biology, right? I was studying biology, I was pre-med, and I was science trained. I was going to be a veterinarian. And through, long story short, I ended up studying art And from there, I got exposed to directing. So I was a commercial director for a long time. And you worked on set with me many times. So you know, I approach photo shoot in a very different way. I approach it in a more directorial way, telling stories, right?
You were in the clothes.
And that's why we work so well together, because you are in the clothes, I'm in the clothes, and we begin to tell stories. And I think people forget photography, what we do is supposed to tell a story. What styling is supposed to do is supposed to tell a story. It's supposed to be a 360 experience. So I came from that point of view. And my first magazine, actually, funny enough, was also Vogue. It was Italian Vogue. And I always look back at that moment when I picked out that cover, and it was Daria on the cover. Oh. And I remember, and that's Canadian model, guys.
I love Daria.
We love Daria. And I remember then that I also had these flashbacks of, oh, I know who Cindy Crawford is. I know who Claudia Schiffer is, because we obsess over them on George Michael's video. So I have my education by looking at Vogue to reflect back what I already knew but did not know. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then slowly came in to better understanding what designer does, what a stylist does. I came from advertising when I was directing commercials, so I have basic knowledge, but having the vocabulary, knowing who's designing Gucci, who Tom Ford is, and why is Tom Ford choosing to work with Testino, and why they create this image that's so impactful. It's a collaboration between a stylist and a photographer. That's when I began to really, truly understand. And I think you work with different directors, and some directors are not fashion savvy ones that you have to kind of guide them and lead them into what you want them to capture, correct?
Yeah, totally. And speaking of, well, Cindy's not in that photo, but Naomi, Naomi, Linda, and Christy. Those are the girls, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you have to guide a lot of people in this industry, but I think also another part of it too is you also have to stay teachable. Like, you can't just be married and so incredibly bound to your own ideas. You have to collaborate, and I think that a lot of great work comes out of that. And I think, you know, when I'm getting somebody ready for the red carpet, when a hairstylist or a makeup artist is like, well, what do you want? I can tell them, but I'm also wanting them to tell me what inspires, them, because it's a full collaborative effort to get to the end product.
And this is a good timeline for people to gauge, is that when I first started shooting, it's when I was watching you on Rachel Zoe. I just began, that's kind of the timeline of, I grew in fashion industry with parallel with American Next Top Model and Rachel Zoe Project. That was kind of my exposure to what fashion industry was like, because I was living in California. I was not in New York. I was never going to go to a fashion show and never get invited to a fashion show then, So I got to see you working with, oh my God, like Anne Hathaway episode I can never forget, and the tears, that literal tears that comes down from your face episode to episode. At times it was daunting for me. I was like, oh my God, is fashion this difficult? Was it really this difficult?
Yes.
Yes.
It was more difficult being an assistant than being my own boss, that's for sure.
Oh, will you share that experience with people? What does it mean to be an assistant first or learn to be a stylist?
Well, being an assistant is, you're available I was available 24/7, and we didn't stop. But it was also a different time, it was a decade ago, and the fashion industry was so different, and it's changed since then, and it's gonna change again after all of this. But being an assistant was hard because I was green. I had come from an editorial background, and I had worked with one stylist assistant before. I worked with Christina Ehrlich and Esty Stanley. They were together at the time. So with them, I worked with like Jessica Biel and Penelope Cruz, and I really got like a good foundation for how to work in this business. But I learned everything with Rachel and with Taylor. So I was not only just learning the skill of my actual job, but we were being filmed all the time. So the show was not produced, and the show, from my vantage point, it was everything that was happening in the moment. So there were days where there was nothing happening, and then, we would go into the studio and the studio would be flooded, or all of that stuff in real time. Like that's what was happening. So I had only been working for her for like 2 weeks before we started filming. So I was learning the job and also learning how to navigate the different personalities between Rachel and Taylor. Rachel, who was most of the time super nice to me, and Taylor, who was most of the time not. And you know, speaking of that, Taylor and I are still friends. She was actually on my podcast, Brad Behavior, and we like talked about a lot of this stuff. But yeah, I was, you know, just, you learn by doing. And so the experience of being told that in 24 hours I was going to be on a press tour with Kate Hudson going around Europe on a private plane was not something I'd ever experienced before. So I learned it while I was there. And so I was lucky enough that Rachel felt the confidence in me that I could carry this out, because, you know, having my own business now, putting a brand new assistant on a plane with an A-list movie star to do a big press tour, I don't know if I would do that because it would freak me out a little bit too much. But I guess she saw something in me that it worked out, because I ended up traveling around the world for over 2 years with people, and it was like incredible experiences. But on every trip, you learn something new. Like, you have to pivot all the time in this business. Like, stuff happens all the time where you're like,
well, you
oh,
said
I thought
that
this was gonna happen, but now this is happening.
Well, you said that you're still friends with Taylor. Are you friendly with Rachel as well?
Not really, no.
Because I've always felt when I watched the show that Rachel had a lot to kind of the trust that she put in you, and the way the show portrayed that. It was really an amazing a platform and starting point for your career. It really made you into a star. I felt like after first season, you were going to have your own show. Before you probably knew you were going to have your own show, because I cried with you when you cried, and I watched, and I was so obsessed trying to figure out how can I get in this industry that I will have Anne Hathaway on my set. Because at that time, I wasn't shooting any celebrities yet, right? Celebrity was like so far from the reach of, I was doing editorials for magazines that you get for free at the New York subways, you know?
Right.
I think it's called HX or something like that.
Oh, I remember that magazine.
Remember? Yeah. So I was literally shooting for that, and then slowly moving into like Shape magazine, and get a little corner of a picture in Shape magazine of just one eyeball and one lip. So I had to get from that micro world, move out slowly into the macro world, because in the world of fashion, it was difficult for me that a lot of stylists wouldn't work with me in the beginning because they didn't trust me. And I think the world of our business has changed.
He's too this, he's too that. Oh yeah, I know the whole.
Oh, you're from LA. You must not know how to take pictures, you know?
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that when people say commercial to me, I just think cash. And when people say commercial to me, I think celebrity. They all start with the letter C. So I don't know why people were so cutthroat about commercial. And what's up for you when you first started styling, and because you were thrown right into the celebrity world? Did you get any negativity coming your way, like, oh, you're not a real stylist because you're only dressing people for red carpet, you're not doing a full editorial story for a magazine?
I think there used to be that kind of
stigma.
Well, I think it's different skill sets too. Like a lot of a lot of the people that I admire, you know, are like, I could never do what you do, and I'm like, well, I could never do what you do. Like, they're not the same skill, right? So, but they're, you know, I admire the work of so many of my colleagues that, it's a very different skill set. You know, I think things are so planned out, and there's definitely the room for, you know, there's the space for spontaneity on photo shoots and discovering things, and there's not really that space in styling. You know, like, you have to have everything kind of planned out, but then you also have to be available to pivot. Like, everything changes so quickly. That's one of the things, like, being so busy and moving to project when I was an assistant and handling so many jobs at once, it allowed me to be able to handle so many different things at once in this industry. Because you have to be able to do a lot of things at once and pay, you know, like, my assistant now, Daniela, who's been with me for 7 years now, like, I don't forget a lot. And she's always like, how do you remember those things? Like, I remember everything. So, you know, I've trained my mind. You have to remember what dress this person is wearing to what thing, and what jewels are going with it, and what you've called in from this fitting, and what's coming in for the photo shoot, and what's been confirmed and what hasn't been confirmed. And, you know, it takes a lot.
And your dynamic with Danielle is amazing, because we get to see it on Instagram. We get to see a lot of behind the scenes photos. And I had the pleasure also working with her, with your client, Leah Michelle, that we both worked with for, I think, for 8-10 years now.
Yeah.
And it's refreshing to see that relationship. It's very contrast to how you got started working with her.
Well, you know, you learn once you take what you want from your job experiences, and you have to develop it for yourself. And you know, I love Daniela. She's like a part of my family. So, you know, I have feel a responsibility for her. I feel like I've taught her a lot of things, and I think that she's also taught me a lot, and we just work really well together. Like, we don't thrive on drama. Like, we both very much repel from it. And I remember my first Met Gala that I styled with my own clients when I was out on my own. I finished my first Met Gala. I think I had 2 or 3 people go the first year that I was out on my own, and I was in the cab with my New York assistant at the time, Cleo, and we had finished everything, and I was like, everything's like fine, right? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. I thought there was gonna be like some big, like, I was gonna be like sweating or freaking out or whatever, and I'm like, we just dressed 3 people. That's all done. Let's go get something to eat, I guess. You know?
Well, it really has to do with the energy that you put forth. And Brad and I have worked together on so many shoots. We've done editorials together. I have shot him as my talent for his book covers, as well as on advertising shoot with Jenna Dewan. And one thing about you, Brad, that you bring such incredible energy to set that's part of your brand. I think I look at you as really a brand. Now we have to branch you out to the Brad Bucks brand. We'll talk about that in a minute. But truly, I think when people call for Brad Goreski style, Brad Goreski work, they're not asking for that single dress. They're really asking for a complete package, that what you bring to set. Don't you feel that way?
Thanks. That's a very nice thing to say, because you know, I got into this business because I love fashion, and I wanted to do something that would be fun. And I do, you know, I'm not like the most edgy stylist out there, but I like to make people feel and look beautiful. And that part of that whole package is, I don't come from a place of like believing that fashion is totally exclusive. I believe that it's fun to be able to educate people, even whether they're my clients, whether, you know, whoever it is, that I think it should be fun. You know, it's brought me so much joy throughout the years that I get to work in an industry I never dreamed that I would actually be a part of. And
Same here. Same here.
You know what I mean? So I don't really ever get on set and I'm like, ugh, this again. Or, you know, like, I can't believe I have to do this. Or I don't know. I miss right now, I'm sure everybody misses their work and their jobs and being around people. And, you know, part of being in fashion is it's so social as well.
Yes.
And not necessarily just like dinner parties and stuff, but you're on set and you get to know people really well, and you hear about their life, and, you know, we get to play music and dance around and be around pretty things and take beautiful photos. And I miss the whole thing. I miss the whole creative aspect of it. So this time has also given me a really good, and I hope, you know, I know there's a lot of, it's so crazy what's happening in the world right now, but it's also made me really grateful again for the ability to work in an industry that I've wanted to be so a part of, you know?
It was very interesting you said that, because I completely understand. in this industry we're in, the word validation is so important to us.
Yeah.
And the most common word that we use on sets, do you like this? Do you think this is good? Right? It's not because we're insecure, but because we are in a space that the word trust is so important. If you like it, that means you trust me. If you validate this is good, that means we're creating something great together. And it is really hard at the time that we are now that to give validation is perhaps from a hug from your dogs, you know. And it's a very interesting time, and part of the reason why I started this Let's Talk on IG Live, because I want to be able to talk to creative people like you, and this is one way for me to express my love for what I do, and then get to share it through some of the memories and experience we've done together, and also get to learn about people's path, right? And the journey, because we take that for granted. A lot of times just go, oh, he's a stylist, oh, she's a makeup artist, and that's it. Through the last 3 weeks, all the people I got to interview, and by the way, I give you full credit. I listened to every single one of your podcasts before I started mine.
Oh, thanks.
And I really do. And I said that we don't get to talk like this very often, because on set, it's pretty much, is she ready? Get on set. But I want to give you a lot of credit for this, Brad. I watch your career grow. I watch you on the red carpet hosting, and many things you do become part of my bucket list. And when I got to do the Oscars red carpet one year, it's absolutely inspired by what you've been doing. So I want to give you full credit for that.
Oh, thanks. That's so nice.
Okay.
Aren't the Oscars the best?
Oh, it is nothing like it in this world. Nothing like it in this
Pretty
world.
Awesome.
I don't know if I ever shared this with you, was that the year I got to do the red carpet, I happened to have shot every single talent that was nominated, because I did the Oscar package.
Wow.
So I developed a relationship with them really quickly, and I know hair and makeup people who are working at home. So I had an inside track that I was texting the talents before they hit the red carpet in their car to take picture of what they were wearing and tell me what brand they were wearing.
Oh, wow.
Because I didn't have a producer in my ear like some of the network have already pre-packaged. I was on the live 3 hours prior, and then all the way up to last 30 minutes. So a lot of the notes were not there for me. And thank God I had the education of photographing them and watch them throughout the entire year, what they were wearing before on photo shoots. So that was amazing. Because I mean, the fact that when I watched back, it was, did I just call out the brand of that lipstick? Who the hell would know what brand of lipstick? And I realized, oh, right, Rachel Goodwin texted me and told me she put that. Perhaps it wasn't the information that people at home in the audience would understand was Dior, you know.
That's
but
funny.
That was really cool. But then get to watch you guys, what you guys do. It's truly an art form, you know. And do you still get nervous on the red carpet? Because I see you do it just like second nature now.
Not really. I mean, it's a different bag when I would probably be more nervous if I was interviewing the celebrities, but doing the countdown shows and stuff and doing panel conversations, I'm like, I don't get nervous about that anymore. But because I enjoy.
Do you get nervous for the stylist who dresses people not right?
Yeah. But also, E has been like such a big home for me for I don't know, like 6 or 7 years now, and they're so amazing, and I think they do like the best red carpet coverage and content, and you know, they're such a great, I just love being a part of that family. And
well, we miss Fashion Police. We miss Joan River. We miss that was like the Bible. It's a must watch. You know?
Absolutely.
It was incredible. Well, I got to see that, and I got to learn from that. So thank you so very much for that.
No problem.
But I want to talk about some of the most favorite moments of yours on the red carpets. Can we go through some of them?
Sure.
Jessica Alba, both of us got to work with her. So
yes.
Tell me about this look and when it was it for.
Oh, I love this look. So this was from, I believe it was like 2012, and it was an Oscar de la Renta gown with $6 million worth of Harry Winston diamonds.
Wow.
And yeah, I saw this gown walk in their pre-fall collection. I was in New York, and I went to their head of PR right after the show, and I was like, I have to have this gown for Jessica for the Golden Globes. And, you know, it's always like, it always feels really good when you like actually snag the gown you want right off the runway. And this was a case of that. And it was just like, I remember Jessica, I changed her that night in the front desk area of the hotel. She wanted to wear like a mini dress. So I changed her into this Louis Vuitton dress, and she told me, she was like, Jennifer Lopez was behind me and like tapped me on the shoulder to tell me how good I looked in that dress. And I was like, yes,
yes, yes.
Success. One of my favorites.
Well, let's let the audience know a little bit. What is it like? You have to go to the fashion show and you're trying to find that perfect dress. So when you get invited to fashion shows in the front row, you're constantly spotting which client should fit which dress. Give us that experience.
Yeah, it's, you know, we're there for work as much as it's there for fun, but it's really nice to be, you know, you go there and to see the gowns move in person, and also to get kind of first dibs, especially if you're like working with somebody for a whole award season. But event to event, like I can tell when dresses walk down the runway, like who they'll be good for. And I knew that that one was going to be like a sure thing as soon as we got it. And sometimes you have to fight for them. Like they'll want to give you the gown, but you can't, you know, they can't give it to you because it has to go to sales or to a photo shoot or an ad campaign or whatever. So that's where it helps to be nice to people. Because if you're nice and you follow the rules and you give things back when people ask for them, and like share dresses and just be like a nice human being about it, usually people will do favors for you, which is what happened here. And I'm still friends with the person who was the PR person at the time, Judgy. She's on to another brand now, but yeah, I'm still work with her all the time.
And it's so important that people know that styling is not just a dress. You're not looking for that dress. You're looking for the perfect jewelry, the perfect shoe, the perfect accessory to pair with it, the perfect purse. I mean, you guys have a lot of moving pieces. Then if one piece falls apart, the other might have to move.
Well, we had to get permission, like very special permission, for that necklace to be worn out in public because the value was so high. We had to like get it cleared by, you know, like the president of Harry Winston or the company. It was a whole process, but it was so worth it.
It was so beautiful and stunning. And this is one of my all-time favorite. I love graphics. I love black and white, and I love storytelling clothes. And I love that she's young and you dress her so appropriately. Let's talk about Natalia.
So this is Natalia Dyer, who plays Nancy Wheeler on Stranger Things, and I adore her so much. She's so wonderful, and I've been dressing her since I think the end of season 1, and she's just amazing and loves the whole process. And so this gown was Dior Haute Couture, and she's worn Dior a bunch of times and been to their show, and this is the skirt is all hand painted with all of the astrological signs. So and this was a very big kind of fashion moment for her where, you know, I think a lot of brands became super, super interested in her. And she just worked this so hard. Like every single photo is like so gorgeous. And we still return to this dress and talk about it. It was one of her favorites. And she's a great person. I just adore Natalia.
And it's interesting to watch an evolution, how you take a younger girl and as you work with them for a while, like Lea Michele, for example, you've been working with her for a long, long time, from beginning of the Glee to the very last Christmas album that we actually got to work together on. And I get to see how you evolve your talent. That's a really wonderful thing to see, the respect of their youth and age, and as they mature, moving into more sophisticated and more sexy. And those are the things that I think is so ever important for a stylist, right?
Yeah, well, you're also only young once. Like if I was a young ingenue or a young actress and I went to somebody and they dressed me super old, I'd be like, get out of here. Well, no.
Unless you're Sarah Highland, she never ages.
This one was also like a big, this is Christian Siriano. It was custom made for her. We had one fitting and I was like, not like super, we didn't have this dress yet, but I was like not super in love with anything. And so I texted Christian and I was like, what would you think about doing like a crop top with a ball skirt? And Sarah's always like into a color and she was super into orange. And so so he whipped this up for us in like 3 days, and it came, and we did it with a little top knot and Lorraine Schwartz jewelry, which Sarah always wears. And yeah, it just was like that perfect moment, you know. I just love this so much. They made a Barbie out of it actually when Christian did a series of Barbies, which was really cool.
Well, this one in particular, when I saw her hit the red carpet, I actually went, I was surprised. I was pleasantly surprised because Sarah is a petite girl, and naturally you don't think about putting her in a big ball gown. You think that would swallow her up. And but in fact, what you've done with the high-waisted crop top, you elongate her. She looks so tall and so beautiful. Because I photographed her so many times. She photographs really tall because proportionally, she's fantastic, and she's a dancer by training, so she knows how to hold her body, hold her core.
She's all legs.
She's all legs.
Yeah,
all
she is.
legs.
She's tiny, but she's all legs.
And speaking of legs, these legs.
Yes,
wow.
Jenna. This one. Oh my God. Okay. So
Jenna Dewan.
This is the. So we had a gown for her for this Vanity Fair already, and I don't usually switch things that often. And she was like super happy with it. And I got this gown and it arrived at my studio, and I was like, Jenna, you have to try this gown. Like, this is a no-brainer. You're gonna kill it if you wear this. She was like, I'm fine with what we have, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, just let me run it up. So I ran it up to the house and she put it on. And she was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. And when the hair and makeup all came together and I saw this, the photos of this start coming up, it still like literally makes me gag. Like, I can't get over how amazing this gown is on her. It's Pamela Rowland. It was from her brand new collection. And Jenna was literally like everywhere. Like, to get this much press off of a party look is like unheard of. It went everywhere.
But look at that leg muscle. Look at that tone leg.
She's another one too. She's petite, but she like knows how to work it.
Do you ever have problems with, or situations with clients where you want to switch dress or you want to put them in something, they just say, they just completely go against your wish and put something else on and hit the red carpet? You just like, oh my God, I don't want to put anything on that.
That would be like grounds for firing. I'd be like, I'm okay, don't worry about it. It's a lot of time, like between the requesting the clothes, getting the confirmations, getting everything here, setting it all up, doing the fitting, doing the refit, sending everything back. It's like, you know, it's a lot of time. It's very time consuming and labor intensive. So no, the people that I've worked with for pretty much like a really long time. So
have you ever had to fire a client?
What's that?
Have you ever fired a client because they just didn't understand your taste level?
I don't know if it's been fired, but I think there's been like an amicable like splitting.
You're so like, good. Politically correct.
Yeah, like it's like not working for us, you know? Like if I'm not like vibing on like if we're not like vibing, or I don't feel like, I also know what kind of girls, like I say no to a lot of people because there are just people that I like respond to that I'm like, ooh, yes, this would be so fun. But like I want to work with people that I want to be around too. That's the other
like
thing.
her. Like,
yes, perfect example.
Perfect example.
I love Kaley. I talk to Kaley like almost every single day, and she's one of the greatest human beings. This was Monique Lullier, and this was actually another case of a dress we switched. She was totally fine with the dress we had, and I had to I was looking back at photos of it, and I was like, this is gonna be a disaster. Like, you're gonna get dragged if you wear this other gown. And so we saw this, and Daniela had seen it at Monique Lullier, and she was like, I think I have such a really good gown for her. And Kaley hates fittings. Like, she likes to try on one or two things, and she's like fine with it. But we got this gown in, and I was like, just give us 5 minutes in the morning. We'll come to your house, just try it on while you're having your coffee, and we'll like call it a day. And she was like, okay, okay. And we put it on. She was like, this is it. This is it. This is it. This is it. And it's now one of her favorite looks of all time.
And she looks flawless in that. Looks
and she's
flawless.
Wearing diamonds. She never wears like, she doesn't love like jewelry. And Lorraine Schwartz like made her these diamond like ear climbers that went up her ear.
Wow.
Are so good.
But I think with the span of your work that I get to see, whether it's working together or watch it on TV or flip it through the magazine, I find that everybody you dress, you can see the love you have with them, the relationship you have with them. They've truly become family to you, and you're dressing them out of so much heart and love. And that's not always true in everybody in our profession, I have to say. We know that some people are just stylists. They're doing their job. This is what you're going to look best in. Good luck. That's what it is. And you're completely different. You're living your brand on them. And it's unusual for me to still see that.
I just want them to feel like, the whole reason why I do this is so that people can feel their best, you know, so that they can, I just want people to feel like their clothes and fashion has the power to make you really feel things. And I think that if you are having somebody assist you with that, that it's my job that every time they go onto the red carpet or go for an appearance, that they feel like they look amazing. And if not, then I'm not doing my job.
Well, we have a couple of Q&As that came in, so let's hammer them through. How's that?
Cool.
So, I'm reading it. The audience wants to know, are you going to write another book?
Maybe. You know, there are some other things happening right now. Eventually, I never say never. I don't know what it would be. I don't know what would be different, but yeah, I'm so open to that for sure.
The next question I have is, so what is your philosophy with approaching styling?
It depends person to person, because we pull, you know, Daniela, my assistant, and I, we pull for each specific fitting. So we don't have like racks and racks of clothes at all time that we just kind of move around to each client. Like, everything's pulled specifically for each thing. So I approach it by knowing what the event is. Also, I usually will, if I haven't worked with a client for a month or so, or a few months, I'll ask them if there's anything that they're super into right now. And then we just like, you know, go from there. It's like usually very easy with me. Like, I'm just like, it's within the first 5 looks that we try on that something happens.
Who's on your bucket list that you would like to dress, have yet to dress?
Jennifer Lawrence.
Wow.
Is like my number 1. I love
very
her.
Sophisticated. She doesn't like photo shoots. I can tell you that. I've been on set with her.
Interesting.
I wish I had a better. I mean, I think she's absolutely gorgeous, and it was doing a press tour. Maybe I came in at a time that you know, it was just, I was so excited to work with her, and she does Dior. You know, she just came off shoot with all the campaigns that she was doing. And I thought I was going to come on set and do the whole editorial with her. Because you know how I get so excited. I'm like, okay, we're going to put you on the swing and we're going to do this. And it was just like, okay, we're going to just shoot Jennifer Lawrence. Jennifer Lawrence. And it was okay. It was beautiful. The picture, I'm very proud of the pictures. I just hope I have another opportunity to work with her where I get to create, because I think she's so absolutely gorgeous, you know?
Yeah, I love her.
Well, I hope your bucket list should be checked off soon. I think it will. I think it absolutely wow. And you'll get along with her just great. She's absolutely lovely. I just didn't get to create like I usually do. Well, one more question here that I have for every stylist I ever talked to, and that is, if you get to dress a fruit or vegetable, which one would it be?
If I got to dress a fruit or a vegetable, I would probably dress I'm going to say a vegetable.
And which vegetable would that be?
I would probably dress I'm going to say a cucumber.
I want to see it. I want to see a sketch of this dress on a cucumber. I talked to Michael Costello last week, and he said he was going to dress a banana.
I'm sure.
So I see a similarity there.
That's funny.
Jason Wu said that he's gonna dress a Gore, which has a little curve and shape, you know, and that's quite good. I love that.
My other one would be a watermelon because that's my all-time favorite.
Oh, that could be really beautiful, actually. I can see a ball gown with a watermelon. Oh, it could be stunning. Well, everybody keep texting questions on the bottom. The number one things I keep seeing is that everybody loves Brad Bucks. Tell us what Brad Buck is.
We're back up. There's a new episode up.
So give us a little introduction on Brad Bucks.
Well, it actually just came out of necessity. When Gary and I decided that we were going to start self-isolating, today's our 1 month anniversary of quarantining.
Congratulations.
Thanks. We decided, I knew that his coffee is so much a part of his ritual, of his daily ritual, and he's full on in work mode still. He has an animated series coming out on HBO Max that is in full production. So he's working every day. So I was like, I've got to somehow make him his coffee. And so I just decided to get all the ingredients and pull out the old Nespresso maker and see if he liked it, because I figured we wouldn't be going to Starbucks. And here we are 20 some odd days later, me making him his coffee every single day. So it just came out of an act of love. That's all. And
it's called the Gary. When you want to order it, it's called the Gary, right?
The Gary, correct.
Let's give us the ingredients. What is the Gary when you want to order it?
So he does 2 shots. It's 2 shots of espresso with 2 pumps of mocha, almond milk, and no whipped cream, thank God. And yeah, that's it. And ice.
It's amazing. When we watch your Instagram feed, we see people videotaping themselves, creating the Gary. It's absolutely awesome. And congratulations for the grand opening of Brad Bucks.
Thank you. Well, we renovated, so I'm glad everybody likes the renovation.
Well, thank you so much, Brad, for your time. And
thank you.
Keep on your podcast, because it inspires many of us, and we love listening to you. And keep on having fun adventures out there, everything you do, because we get to watch and learn. So I so appreciate for your time, and I can't wait to be on set with you again.
Absolutely, me too. Thanks for the chat, and thanks everybody for watching. Appreciate it. Stay safe and healthy.
Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay.